Saxon Advanced Mathematics. Welcome to the winter midterm review. I call it the winter midterm because we are testing on the topics that we learned during the winter. I think my better name for it might be the March midterm review, but anyway, that's what I'm calling this. What I'm going to do for you now is I'm going to review the lessons that I will be considering for problems on the test. I will give you a description. I will refer you to places in your notes where you will need to check up on formulas and things like that. If it's short, I'll include the formulas right here. But I'll tell you everything you need to study, and then I'll give you a few study tips and reminders about how to do your best work on the midterm. Okay, the first thing I want to tell you is that I will be giving you, with your test packet, a blank unit circle form. You may fill it in and you may use it on the test, okay? You may not use your already completed unit circle, but you can complete this one. So make sure you remember how to fill it out. It's been a while, right? We learned this a couple months ago. I don't know if you've been practicing, but make sure you practice so that you can get it right. If you would like, before you use your new unit circle on the test, you can send me a picture of it and I will check it for you for accuracy, so that you're not using incorrect values on your test. That could be a bad scene. But so I offer that to you, but you don't have to. It's just if you want to. But you would need to fill this out for the different angles, for the radians, and then remember it's cosine and sine. So take your completed version of the unit circle and use that to practice. The other thing I will be giving you is a form to fill out your trig identities. This is a blank form. The trig identities is a sheet that I've developed to help you organize your answers. The green are the answers that I've written in. The black is what you will get. So it says identity page, basic functions, reciprocal functions, quotient functions, negative angle, or we also call them even odd functions, right? All of this. And I'm leaving this, I'm letting this linger here under the camera so that if you would like, you can come back in this video and screenshot this and copy it all out and study off this. And then on the back side, we have the Pythagoreans. The way I do it is I write the three main ones up here and then rearrange to get the other ones down here. The cofunction identities are the ones that relate sine of theta equals cosine of 90 minus theta. Remember we learned that a while back. Sine and cosine are buddies, secant and cosecant, tangent and cotangent. And then the last section of this are the sum and difference identities, which we memorized. And then remember we learned how to take these and develop the double angle and the half angle identities. So though there's no place to write those down, but I do expect you to know how to derive them from these. All right, but these are the other sections that I want you to memorize and be able to fill in. So I will give you the blank sheet with all the black on it, and then you'll fill in the green. Again, I'm pausing so you can take a picture of that or freeze it and copy it, whatever you want to do. Okay, so those will be the first parts of the test that will be attached to it. Then we jump into the lessons. 96 are our good old double angle identities. So you will have memorized the sum identities, and then you'll be able to derive them from that list. This is where we actually did identities with them. And there's another lesson in the list here that talk about the others. So we'll get to that. 95. Advanced complex roots. That's where we're taking the, very often we start with rectangular form of a complex number, and we have to change it into the polar form. So there's that, and remember that's where we say something like 3 cis 90 degrees, and remember that what that equals is 3 times the cosine of 90 degrees plus I times the sine of 90 degrees, right? This means this, which can be helpful. So when we're finding advanced complex roots, we have to change it to the polar, and then remember we take the square root of this number and we divide this number by the, like if we're finding 5 fifth roots, we would take the fifth root of this and we would divide that by 5, just as an example. For this, you will be able to use a calculator. Remember that I will tell you very specifically if you're allowed to use your calculator on the test. I don't have any rules or limits on what kind of calculator. Most teachers / schools do not allow you to use a smartphone because you could just Google the answer. I trust you, so it's fine with me if you want to use a smartphone. 94. Graphs. Oh, this is such a fun one. Graphs of secant and cosecant, and then graphs of tangent and cotangent. I'm much more likely to test you on that. 95. Oh, see, I'm doing it again. I've done it in every lesson. I'm going backwards, but all of a sudden I find myself trying to go forwards again. 93. 93 is advanced trig identities. And this is where we are forming the double angle, I believe, if I'm remembering this right, and the half angle. Make sure you can do that. Right? Don't memorize them, just know how to get there. 92. Let me put my captions back on. Lesson description. Okay, so we're on 92. And that is the probability of either red-headed boys. Make sure you know how to do those. Also in 92 is notations, formulas for permutations and combinations. And I'm going to give those to you right here. They're short enough, I can just write them out. The probability of n things taken r at a time and to find the, or not the probability, but the number of permutations of n things taken r at a time. And if you're doing a combination, remember a combination is like picking a team or a deck of cards where order doesn't matter. Once they're chosen, you can rearrange them however you want. If you're taking a combination of n things taken r at a time, then you take the probability formula. So I'm going to copy that. And then you divide it also by the number of things taken. So this is what's different in the combination formula, just that little bit. All right, make sure you have those memorized. 91, geometric progressions. Okay, remember that when you're multiplying, watch out for plus minus values, right? That's the tricky thing about the geometrics, is that we can have minus signs that make everything crazy. And remember with these, we say that A1 equals the first term, and R equals what we call the common ratio. And the nth term is equal to A1, the first term, times the common ratio raised to the power of n minus 1. So if you want to find the 18th term, it would be r to the 17th, right? 18 minus 1 is 17. So there are the formulas you need for that little puppy dog. 90. Developing, oh, this is the one. Developing double and half angle identities. What was 93 then? I don't know. This is where we develop double and half angles. I think that the other lesson, 93, was actually doing using them to do actual identities, right? Where you're circling the right side and trying to make the left side look like it. This is where we actually learned how to do it. Remember that for the sine, there's only one way to do it, but for cosine double angle, there are 3 different variations, right? Make sure you can do all of the different ones. Okay. 89. The ellipse. Grace is having a nice little puppy dream over here, and she's yipping in her sleep. Here's a little quickie sketch of that. Remember, we can have the minor axis and the major axis. They can go in either direction. Remember that we have the 4 points, but we also have what we call the focus points, the focus, that's right. So the ellipse goes like this, right? And the focus points are inside, but we can draw a triangle, and this length is the same as this length. It's A, right? And A is also this whole big thing. And then this side is B. So we can solve for this length as well. So remember how to do all that good stuff. 88. We're almost done. Again, let me put my titles. Lesson. Description. '88. Exponential growth or decay. Remember, you can approach both of these the same way. This is a problem where we'll use calculators. So again, make sure you have one handy. One that you trust. A lot of students are working with calculators where they go, oh, I can't, it doesn't always give me the right answer. Don't use that one, find a good one. And we know that this is the formula that we use. We have to do some work with exponentials here, right, in order to solve for our constant. This is the formula. It's a dangerous looking formula. Make sure you know how to use it. 87. I don't remember the topic of 87, but it's not on my list. 86. Arithmetic means. Very similar to geometric means. They're a little bit simpler because we don't have that plus minus drama. A1 equals the first term. D equals what we call the common difference. And then any time we want to find a term, the nth term, we take A1 and we multiply it times D times n minus 1. So if we want the 18th term, we do 18 minus 1, we multiply 17 times D times the first term, and that will give us the number. 85. Oh my gosh, this list feels like it's going on forever, but I'm almost done. Advanced trig equations. This is where, it's not the only one, but this is where your unit circle could come in handy. 85 also, I believe this is the same lesson. We have those clock problems. Clock problems are nice if you remember that most of the equations stay the same. From problem to problem, right? The rate of the big hand, the rate of the little hand, the number of spaces that the hour hand will move. Check your notes, but most of those equations stay the same. There's only one or two that you actually have to figure out. And then the last one I put on my list, 84, is sketching sinusoids. I have a passion for sinusoids. I'm sorry if you don't like them. I love them. I think they're great. Remember that this is the formula. They look like this. It can be sine or cosine, it doesn't matter. This is the center line. I'm going to write this all out for you because I love it. This is the amplitude. This is the coefficient of the period. And it's calculated as 360 or 2 pi, depending on whether you have radians or degrees, over the period. That's how you calculate that coefficient. And then D is the phase angle. And remember that if there's a minus sign, then this means this is a positive D. So positive D would equal the phase angle. So this sign here always reverses. This can be sine or cosine. It's not specific to one or the other. It works for both. Okay, how many lessons did I just give you? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, plus the 2 charts. That's what you need to study from. There will be 10 problems on the test, 5 points each. I will grade the unit circle and the trig identities separately, but you'll get points for those. And now I'm going to tell you how I recommend that you study. The first piece of advice I'm going to give you seems obvious, but it's super important and it's beyond math. When you're studying for any kind of test, prepare by doing exactly what you'll be asked to do on the real test. So if your test is going to be a spelling bee, practice spelling words. If your test is going to be a one-handed cartwheel, practice your one-handed cartwheels. If your test is going to be doing algebra problems, do actual problems. You might be surprised how many students I've had that I'll be talking to them later about their study methods. Maybe they didn't do as well as they hoped. And I'm asking them later, okay, so how did you study? And they say, oh, I looked through the book and I remembered all the lessons. So, you know, I was good. I'm like, you can't really study by just looking through the book. You have to actually pick up a pencil and do the problems. So let that be advice to you for any test you take. Do whatever you're going to have to actually do when you take the test. Practice by doing that same thing. For this test, what I recommend that you do is work the examples. Work all the examples. Remember, the examples are the problems that I do in the video. They're the problems that are embedded in the lesson at the front of each, in the words at the front of each lesson. Here's the reason why. If you have any confusion about the problem and you want guidance, the examples have the most detailed explanations of how to approach those problems. The solution manual has the numbers, but it doesn't usually explain it at all. So the examples are the best places to get an explanation. Plus, if you're really confused, you can always go back and look into the lesson and find me doing those examples and look to see what I have to say about it. So the examples are the most rich source of explanation if you want it. The next best source, if you do all of these and you want to do more, if you do all of these and you feel good, you're ready. If you do all of these but you want to do more, sorry, this is a long, boring answer, but I'll explain it to you. You know how in the earlier algebra books, there was always a practice section, right? And there would be like A, B, C, they would be letters instead of numbers. And that would come before the problem set, and the practice problems would relate to the specific lesson that we had just learned. And as you know, in this advanced algebra book, or advanced mathematics, they don't have practice problems. John skipped that. I kind of wish he would come out with a new edition that does have practice problems, because now the only way you can find more problems on a specific lesson is to go by those little numbers in the parentheses. But here's another problem with this book. John doesn't put those in the textbook. The only way you can find that little source number, and I'm going to call it that, the lesson source number, is you have to go to the solutions manual. So you would have to go to the solutions manual and you would have to skim through the answers and look for a problem that has the right little number in the parentheses, and then go back and find it in your textbook and do it. That's a huge hassle. So honestly, do all of this and hope for the best. If you have any questions, message me. If you are a YouTube student, you can email me. My contact is in the About page. And if you have questions, I'll give you my phone number and we can text. But here's the thing. Please know that I love getting text messages from students. I love it. I love being able to help you. I love doing random problems in the middle of the day. I really, really enjoy it. Please don't worry that I'm so busy doing other very important things that I do with my life when I'm not teaching math, and then I'm going to be annoyed if you reach out to me. I'm not. I'm going to love it. And if I'm busy with something else, I'll get back to you when I'm done. Don't worry about that. I know how to silence my phone, and I'm not afraid to do it. So don't worry that, you're going to disturb me. You won't. So please, if you have any questions at all, ever in your whole life, in your whole math life, reach out to me. You can ask me other questions too, but you know what I'm saying. Please do not hesitate to ask me if you want something clarified. The last, it's not the very last. Study within 24 hours of taking the test. I'll tell you what I mean by that, but first I'm going to tell you when you'll have to take the test. I'm going to drop it off between 12 and 1 on Wednesday. And I'm going to pick it up between, let's say 2 to 3 on Thursday. If you need more time, you better let me know before then, because I'll be sad if I drive all the way to your house and you're not done. What I don't want you to do is study on Monday, ignore it on Tuesday and Wednesday, and then Thursday morning, pick up your test and try to do it. You've had too much time without refreshing your brain. So what I would like for you to do is, sure, study Monday night, and then maybe review a few more problems on Tuesday, and then maybe Wednesday night before you go to bed, go through your formulas a couple more times and make sure you have everything memorized. So don't leave it to the last minute necessarily, but don't do it too far in advance and then go several days without thinking about it. You should spend at least some of your study time within 24 hours of taking the test. I don't believe in last minute cramming. I don't believe in staying up late to study so that you're tired the next day. That's more of college stuff than high school stuff. But anyway, your brain needs to be in good shape, so remember to do all those good things, right? Rest well, eat well, get plenty of water. And then the last thing that I want to remind you is to make a plan. For dealing with test anxiety. Everybody gets a little anxious before a test, right? You get a little bit worked up. You kind of feel like on the edge of your chair. A little test anxiety, a little anxiety can actually be helpful. It can improve your performance because it kind of gets you up on your tippy toes, and you're motivated to really do your best. Too much test anxiety will diminish your successes, and some students struggle with it a lot, others don't. When I was in high school, I didn't really struggle with it at all. When I was in college, yeah, I got a little more stressed out about tests. I cared a lot more, the work was harder, blah, blah, blah. What I found was that I would be in my dorm room getting ready to leave for a test, and I would feel pretty keyed up, kind of anxious, pit of the stomach, that whole thing. And I would pack up my backpack and put on my coat, and then I would walk to the building where I was taking the test. I went to Michigan State University, which is a huge campus. And so I would go outside, and it's like a park, right? When you're walking to the different buildings, you're usually not walking along sidewalks, along streets. You're walking on sidewalks that go through big curving grass areas, and there's lots of pretty trees, and it's like a park. And so I would walk to my class, and it usually was at least 10 minutes because of just how big the campus is. And I would get to the room where my test was, and I would realize, oh my gosh, I feel a million times better. Like I don't feel so stressed out anymore. And that leads me to this, my favorite piece of advice is before you take the test, go for a little walk outside, if at all you can. Just get some fresh air, walk a little bit, get yourself in nature. It will calm you down so much, and it will get you in that zone where your anxiety is helping you, pushing you to a better level of success, but not stressing you out. I think that's all I have to say. Good luck, and I will talk to you soon. Thank you, bye.